Number 10. The height moment. Going to court after Terry Sanderson sued her over hitting him on a ski hill in Utah, not many thought the trial would have as many bizarre moments as it did. Some fans even suggested that it reminded them of a middle school mock trial, or that Terry's attorney, Kristen Van Orman, was in love with Gwyneth. This viral moment came to light when Gwyneth took to the stand and began being questioned by Kristen with some seemingly softball questions. Terry's attorney asked the star, "May I ask you how tall you are?" To which Gwyneth answered by saying, "I'm just under 5'10". Kristen then said, "Okay, I'm so jealous." The strange courtroom exchange continued with Gwyneth explaining that she's still shrinking though. Kristen then said, "You and me both. I have to wear these 4-inch heels just to make it to 5'5". Gwyneth then complimented the shoes, to which Kristen then thanked her. The whole conversation happened while the star was in the witness box, being questioned by the opposing attorney. Viewers were left a bit confused, wondering if the whole trial was actually just a big April Fool's joke. Number 9. Taylor Swift. Terry's attorney Kirsten really seemed to be starstruck through the trial and seemed to not care who knew it. During Gwyneth's time on the stand, she was questioned about her request for $1 in damages, being asked whether this was in any way related to this Taylor Swift trial that happened in 2017, where she requested the exact same thing. When asked about the dollar, the star replied by saying, "It's an actual dollar, and it's what I'm asking for," explaining to the court that this is a symbolic gesture because the damages would be much more. Kristen then questioned this by saying to Gwyneth, "Remember me asking you, is it symbolic, and you said yes it is? And then I asked you, well, you learned about that through Taylor Swift, because she also asked for $1 in symbolic damages, right?" Gwyneth replied by saying, "I think I said at that point that I had not been familiar with it, but I since am." Oddly enough, Kristen then proceeded to ask the star under oath if she's good friends with Taylor Swift. Gwyneth said to the court, "I would not say we're good friends, we are friendly. I've taken my kids to one of her concerts before, but we don't talk very often." Viewers of the trial took to Twitter to share their thoughts on this bizarre line of questioning. One user wrote, "This has to be a Saturday Night Live skit, I can't." And another adding sarcastically, "This is a no doubt vital information for the case." Number 8. Essay. When asked to go through the day the incident took place and what it really looked like, Gwyneth went on to explain to the court about what she originally thought was happening. The star testified that she thought it was SA when Terry allegedly ran into her back, saying, "I was confused at first. I didn't know exactly what was happening. It's a very strange thing to be happening on a ski slope." She went on to recall, "I froze. I would say I got very upset just a few seconds later." Gwyneth went on to further explain that what she claims to have happened that day, saying, "I thought, is this a practical joke? Is someone doing something perverted? My mind was going very quickly." She later assured the courtroom that SA did not actually happen, but did say it felt like the two were spooning when they hit the ground. Terry's lawyer questioned the actress by saying, "You said you went to the right and went crashing down. Your bodies were almost spooning and your knees splayed open and you were in shock," followed by asking Gwyneth if she could act out this description in front of the court, which was of course objected by the star's team. And number 7, we have the outfit choices. Sparking many jokes by viewers, many fans have dubbed this as the whitest trial of all time. Gwyneth's outfit choices have been the butt of many jokes online, with fans calling her glasses very Jeffrey Dahmer-esque. Paired with a cream-colored turtleneck, comedian Jenny Johnson commented on Twitter saying, "Gwyneth Paltrow looks like she's on trial in 1987 for hiring a hitman to off her husband." Another user commented on the outfit as well, saying, "Calling dibs on ski trial Gwyneth for being my Halloween costume this year." Others went on to compare her to her character in her previous film, The Royal Tenenbaums. Number 6, we have the emails. During the trial, it was brought up about the possibility of GoPro footage that could possibly have caught the whole event after emails emerged alluding to the fact. The emails between Terry and his family sparked speculation as to where this footage could be if it exists at all. Terry wrote in an email to his family after the crash with the subject line saying, "I'm famous, but at what cost?" When Terry was then questioned about this, he explained, "My head was scrambled, but all I was trying to do was desperately communicate with my kids before they heard it from somebody else that I got crushed." Going on to say, "I didn't pick my words well, not at all how I felt, and I was really trying to give a little levity to a serious situation and it backfired." His daughter defended her dad by saying, "It matches his personality a little bit, making light of a serious situation." Regardless of what was intended by this email, it still has many viewers wondering if he may have targeted Gwyneth due to her fame. Number 5, we have the tipping habits. Terry's attorney will most likely never hear the end of the jokes made due to her strange line of questioning, making it clear to viewers just how much she loves talking to Gwyneth. Most think the whole thing is comedic. Another viral moment happened when she asked Gwyneth about her tipping habits. The clip, which has been viewed so far by over 2 million people online, showed Kristen, who says to Gwyneth, "Now I'm assuming you're under oath here, and you're a good tipper?" To which the star laughed and replied by saying yes. She then went on to say, "Fantastic, I wouldn't expect anything else." With the clip being retweeted and commented on thousands of times, it seems like almost everyone is enjoying this trial and its somewhat random questions. One user commented on the post saying, "Frankly, I don't want this trial to ever end." Another added, "Geez, this attorney is starstruck. Are they dating or what?" Number 4, we have the attorney. With the amount of money that Gwyneth has, you would expect her to have the best of the best when it comes to her attorney. So with her current choice being somewhat V, many viewers were left confused. Gwyneth's attorney Steve Owens delivered his opening statement, which many believed was just completely scattered and just lost. One viewer commented, "Paltrow's lawyer doesn't speak in full sentences. It's so strange. He only talks in fragments and thoughts. How very odd that with all of her money, this was the lawyer she chose." During the statement, Steve received many objections which were overruled. He then commented on this to the judge, saying, "That's about 10 overruled objections in my closing," which I think is a little inappropriate, Your Honor. Viewers began questioning why Steve seemed so out of it during his statements, with a few people suggesting that he could even be intoxicated. One Twitter user wrote, "Gwyneth Paltrow's attorney is a bumbling idiot," telling the jury that Gwyneth Paltrow lost money on the instructor and ski fees that she paid before she had to stop skiing for the rest of the day, even asking the judge to limit interruptions from defense objections. Another added by saying, "Just watched Gwyneth's lawyer's opening statement and what the heck. This is insanely hilarious and I can't wait to watch this unfold." Number 3, we have the viral quote. Gwyneth has been mocked for her testimony in the ski collision trial after she explained how she suffered after the 2016 crash. Kirsten asked Gwyneth, "Is it true that you feel it's unfair that Mr. Sanderson brought this case against you?" She responds by saying, "I do." To which Kirsten goes on to say, "He has deterred you from enjoying the rest of what was a very expensive vacation." Gwyneth answers in a way that seems almost comedic, saying, "Well, I lost half of my day skiing." This clip quickly went viral, with many joking, sending their thoughts and prayers to the star. One Twitter user commented, expressing how this is the hardest they've laughed in a long time. Another viewer proposed that Gwyneth will be on the next Housewife franchise for her iconic one-liners. Others were not so pleased with Gwyneth's lack of remorse for supposedly not getting Terry any help when he did need it. One Instagram user wrote on the star's most recent photo, saying, "Who knows who hit who at Deer Valley? The thing that concerns me is that you didn't check to see if the guy was alright. That's pretty heartless. So weird." Another added by saying, "Crashing into someone below you and just taking off is unbelievably cruel. Then not even paying to help his medical, just elitist evilness." And number 2, we have the facial expressions. Gwyneth is receiving quite a bit of backlash for looking unhappy during her court trial. With many clips emerging of Gwyneth during the trial, it's looking like she's struggling to hide her true facial expressions. The many clips that have been circulating platforms is when the star's jaw dropped in shock after the opposing counsel accused the actress of lying multiple times while under oath. The moment happened when Gwyneth took the stand in Utah, where Terry's attorney argues that she should be allowed to question whether Gwyneth is clumsy. While making that argument, Kristen claims that the star has lied under oath a number of times. Her jaw immediately dropped and she shook her head, followed by her attorney Steve Owens getting up and calling the comment slanderous, wanting it to be withdrawn from the record. Kristen responded by saying she has made prior inconsistent statements during her deposition. Later, the judge ended up siding with Paltrow's attorney, who asked Kristen for an apology. She responded by saying, "I am very sorry. All I'm saying is that there were inconsistencies. I'm not trying to slander Miss Paltrow or say she's lying by any which way or form." Later, when Gwyneth was asked if this was true, that she misrepresented a number of things on the stand, she responded by saying, "Absolutely not." And number 1, we have the wine tasting. Terry Sanderson is blaming Gwyneth for his allegedly new personality after claiming that Gwyneth crashing into him resulted in a permanent traumatic brain injury. When recalling the event, Terry says, "I remember everything was great and that I heard something I've never heard at a ski resort, and it was a blood-curdling scream. And then boom, it was like somebody was out of control and going to hit a tree and pass away." He went on to describe the scene by saying, "I got hit in my back so hard and it was right on my shoulder blades. It felt like fists and poles were right at the bottom of my shoulder blades. It was a serious smack." Terry has gone on to claim that as well as the serious injuries he sustained, he also explained that the collision has taken away from his enjoyment of life in general, when apparently a crucial part of that is wine tastings. A neuroradiology specialist, Dr. Wendell Gibby, told the court Terry is a high-functioning remain active person. Every day he's doing lots of things, meeting groups, wine tasting, skiing, and volunteering. After the accident, he deteriorated abruptly, and many of these activities he loved to do, he stopped doing. Many viewers have come to an agreement that the wine tasting part of that should have definitely been left out, suggesting it's going to do him no favors in the future. Number 10. Tom Holland. Tom Holland, the star from Spider-Man, shared how his meeting with Gwyneth went. During a trivia game with Pop Sugar, Tom admitted how broken-hearted he was when Gwyneth didn't even know his name after working together. He recalled the meeting by saying, "I mean, I've worked with Gwyneth one time on Spider-Man Homecoming," which she doesn't remember. He continued by laughing and saying, "To this day, still breaks my heart. Since their working together was brief, it's clear she didn't think too much of it," after publicly posting that she basically had no clue who Tom Holland was. Tom goes on to share, saying, "One time when we were shooting Avengers Endgame, she came up to me and asked me for a photo with me and Robert Downey Jr. Gwyneth went on to post this photo with the caption, 'Happy birthday dear heart, love me and the other guy in the photo.' But it seems Gwyneth might not only have problems with names, but with the movies she's been in. While Gwyneth was chatting to John in an episode of The Chef, she appeared to be shocked to learn that she was in Spider-Man at all. She said to John, 'We weren't in Spider-Man,' to which he responded by saying, 'Yes, we were. Homecoming. You were in Spider-Man.' John went on to say, 'Remember Spider-Man at the end and Tom Holland's there and you're going to walk out and do a press conference?' Which seems to jog her memory enough, saying, 'Oh yes, that was Spider-Man? Oh my god.' Looks like even if they do work together in the future, Gwyneth still may not remember. Number 9, we have Jessica Alba. Gwyneth has never been one to shy away from her true feelings and telling the public all about them. Back in 2014, she did just that. Coming out with a newsletter called The Dirty on Getting Clean, she shared her opinions on which brands were safe, non-toxic, and environmentally friendly for household cleaning. Gwyneth used this letter to share her true thoughts on Jessica Alba's lifestyle brand, The Honest Company, giving her all-purpose cleaner a C letter grade. Writing about Jessica's product, saying, "May contain ingredients with potential acute, aquatic toxicity, and respiratory effects, nervous system effects as well." Which it seems Gwyneth wasn't the only one to throw shade when Jessica looked to diss Gwyneth's advice. She went on to say, "Gwyneth Paltrow probably lives a very similar lifestyle, but I didn't grow up with a bunch of money, so my tips are much more grounded, repurposing things and making things at home." With all that tension appearing to be happening between the two, I can't imagine there'll be a Goop and Honest Company collab anytime soon. Number 8, we have Reese Witherspoon. Though the two seem to be pals nowadays, it hasn't always been that way, especially back in 2006 with Gwyneth publicly shading Reese to The Guardian. She said in the interview, "Even actresses that you really admire, like Reese Witherspoon, you think, another romantic comedy? You know, you see her in something like Walk the Line and think, God, you're so great. And then you think, why is she doing all these stupid romantic comedies?" But of course, it's for money and status. Since this comment, it seems the two are on good terms, even with Gwyneth wishing her a happy birthday on her Instagram just this past week. Maybe Reese is more forgiving than others would be after hearing that comment, or Gwyneth said her apologies in private. But what do you guys think about that relationship? Number 7, we have Martha Stewart. Said to be a one-sided iconic feud spanning over a decade, Martha Stewart and Gwyneth Paltrow most likely won't be working together anytime soon. The passive aggressiveness seems to have started around 2013 when Martha made an appearance on Bloomberg television. When asked about Gwyneth and her lifestyle brand Goop, Martha said, "I haven't eaten at Gwyneth's house and I don't know how she lives. But if she's authentic, all the better. I certainly hope she is." The passive part of the aggression ended there though. When being profiled by Net, a Porter's magazine in 2014, she spoke about Gwyneth again, saying she just needs to be quiet. She's a movie star. If she were confident in her acting, she wouldn't be trying to be Martha Stewart. Later that same year, Martha made another dig at the star, publishing a Thanksgiving piece titled Conscious Coupling, which was a diss at Gwyneth's announcement at consciously uncoupling her ex-boyfriend Chris Martin. Martha didn't stop there though. During an interview on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, Martha revealed her opinion on Gwyneth's vagina-smelling candle that is simply called "This Smells Like My Vagina." Martha shared, "I'm sure it's sold out. She does that kind of thing irritatingly. She's trying to zhuzh up the public to listen to her and that's great, let her do her thing. But I wouldn't buy that candle." Gwyneth hasn't said much about this feud aside from the time she addressed some of Martha's comments back in 2014. She said at the time, "No one has ever said anything bad about me before, and I'm shocked and devastated," jokingly adding, "I'll try to recover." Number 6, we have Sebastian Stan. Another star that Gwyneth has seemingly forgotten working with, her co-star in the Marvel-verse, Sebastian Stan. The difference between this situation and Tom Holland's is she didn't forget him after one introduction, but 3. After Sebastian posted a photo online of himself, Gwyneth, and a few other high-class individuals, he wrote in the caption, "Thank you for inviting me to my first couture show. Also glad I got to reintroduce myself to Gwyneth Paltrow for the 3rd time," adding, "We were in the same film." When fans began asking about this occurrence, Sebastian came forward to say the comment was more of a jab at himself than anything, adding, "I was just trying to make a joke out of myself, to be honest. We were at this event, and especially at some of the fashion events for me, I feel a little out of my element." He went on to say, "I went up to her and was like, hey, by the way, I'm Sebastian. She sort of gave me this look and I was like, from Avengers, we met. I'm not sure if she remembered me. It was a weird moment and I was like, oh my god, I've introduced myself to this poor woman a 3rd time. She must think I'm a crazy person." Regardless, it seems Gwyneth just isn't one to remember superheroes apparently. Number 5, we have Madonna. Both Madonna and Gwyneth were riding high in the late 1990s thanks to Gwyneth's performance in Shakespeare in Love and Madonna's hit album Ray of Light. But it seems the two, regardless of how much they had in common at the time, didn't end up being friends forever. During an interview with British Vogue, Gwyneth revealed a situation she was having with a friend, saying, "I'm having a situation where I'm feeling pretty angry." Rumors were circulating that Madonna wasn't being very nice to Gwyneth's good friend and trainer Tracy Anderson. An insider shared that same year that their relationship had been a bit on the rocks, revealing, "I can't tell you exactly why they had a falling out, but Gwyneth can be jealous and competitive." Speculation continued to grow that Gwyneth was holding a bit of grudge after Madonna fired Tracy, who was their shared trainer. During an interview with The Telegraph not long after, Gwyneth explained that she was happy Madonna wasn't working with the trainer anymore, saying, "Yes, it's good that Tracy doesn't train Madonna anymore. It was just too much. She keeps people waiting and it takes up your whole day." Things really seemed to come to a head though with the stars during the 2013 Met Gala, when Madonna allegedly snubbed her former friend. A source close to the two that night told the press, "Madonna chatted with Beyonce for most of the evening and didn't even glance at Gwyneth. Everybody talked about it." Not long after, it looked as though Gwyneth hit back during an interview when asked who had the best abs between the two. She said at the time, "Why rub it in? Let's face it, I'll Polaroid my abs right now and text them to her." Regardless of what the true reason was for their break in a friendship, it seems the mutual dislike has lasted this long between the stars. Number 4, we have Grayden Carter. Grayden Carter was an editor and journalist for Vanity Fair from 1992 to 2017, and during that time he had plans to allegedly expose Gwyneth. Rumors began circulating in 2013 that in the March issue of the editor's letter, Vanity Fair was going to publish an expose on Gwyneth. The article was set to include her alleged infidelity, friend breaks, and much more. The New York Times reported at the time that Gwyneth was calling all of her friends, asking them not to speak to Vanity Fair for this upcoming story. Grayden assigned a writer to the piece saying, "It was just what had been assigned, a reasoned, reported essay on the hate-love fest that encircles Gwyneth Paltrow. I thought it perfectly explained the whole phenomenon, but it seems it wasn't as juicy as he wanted it to be," saying it was a far cry from the almost mythical story that people were now expecting. "The epic takedown filled with bombshell revelations I decided to sit on for a while." After taking some time to think about it, the editor decided it wasn't enough to please the anti-Gwynethites. Even though it wasn't published in the end, I can't imagine Gwyneth was too pleased about the threat. Number 3, Kate Moss. Kate Moss and Gwyneth Paltrow never seemed to have any publicized disagreements in the past, even looking to be pretty close when they were in their 20s. But that all seemed to change in 2012. During Sir Philip Green's birthday celebrations in Mexico, the two allegedly went head-to-head. It is reported that Kate asked Gwyneth why she was out jogging, to what she responded by saying, "So I don't look like you when I get old." It's claimed that Kate then threw her chips at the star and shouted, "Why don't you eat some effing carbs?" The insider told the press, "The spat was a talk of dinner. Everyone was having a giggle about it." Not long after the story became public, a spokesperson for Gwyneth told the press, "There's no such fight. This is all a fabrication." Though the two seem to have known each other for quite some time, they don't really look like they move in the same circles. And at number 2, we have Nona Rider. Nona and Gwyneth were reportedly very tight back in the 90s, even dating Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, who were best friends at the time, making for some pretty iconic double dates I can imagine. But that all seemed to come crashing down after some pretty intense allegations. The story goes that when Gwyneth came to visit her friend's house, she spotted the script for the film Shakespeare in Love. Allegedly, after seeing the role and falling in love with it, she went behind Winona's back and contacted contacted her agent to get an audition for the leading role. This of course caused major tension between the stars, as it was reported that Nona was set to get the role before her former BFF was cast. To put salt in the wound, the movie won Best Picture at the Academy Award, and Gwyneth received an Oscar for Best Actress. When asked about these allegations in 2015, Gwyneth said in an interview, "I swear to God I did not. I'm raising my right hand on the Bible, I swear to God." She also confirmed that the two hadn't seen or spoken to each other much over the years, claiming that her former friend's jealousy caused her to make up lies. Even in a 2009 Goop newsletter, Gwyneth came out with a post titled "Evil Tongue and Living in Negativity." In the post, she referred to a frenemy who is set on taking her down. Of course, many assumed this had to be related to Nona. Gwyneth wrote, "I was deeply upset, I was angry, I was all those things you imagine when you find out someone you thought you liked was venomous and dangerous." Though she never confirmed who she was talking about, I think the answer seems pretty clear. And at number 1, we have Simon Stevens. Simon Stevens, the NHS England chief executive, is not a fan of Gwyneth and her brand Goop. Simon is definitely someone you would want on your side when you're releasing a new series all about your lifestyle brand on Netflix. After checking out her series, Simon shared his opinions on what he calls dubious wellness products and dodgy procedures. During a talk at an academic event, Simon said, "Her brand peddles psychic vampire repellent, says chemical sunscreen is a bad idea, and promotes colonic irrigation and DIY coffee enema machine, despite them all carrying considerable risk to the health." Netflix came out with a statement about this series, saying, "The series is designed to entertain, not provide medical advice." Along with this, a spokesperson for Goop said, "It is transparent when we cover emerging topics, they may be unsupported by science, and they may be in early stages of review." Regardless, Simon made it clear he believes the whole thing is spreading misinformation. I definitely can't imagine he's the biggest fan of the star after that talk. Number 10, the wellness routine. Many know Gwyneth has been sort of a wellness guru, but some of her tips are being slammed because of how just downright ridiculous they are. During an interview with Will Cole, who calls himself a functional medicine practitioner, Gwyneth goes through her wellness routine, sharing that she eats bone broth for lunch, quickly followed by an hour-long workout and then 30 minutes in her sauna. Sharing that she mainly follows a paleo diet, and says, "It's really important for me to support my detox." One fan asked the star a question in the comments saying, "What are you detoxing from if all you eat is broth and veggies?" Other fans were concerned, believing the star was supporting eating disorders, which is a bad image to promote, especially to a younger, more impressionable generation. This is not the first time Gwyneth has been bashed for her interesting wellness choices though. In 2016, she told the New York Times that she's been stung by bees, saying, "It's a 1,000-year-old treatment. People use it to get rid of inflammation and scarring. It's actually pretty incredible if you research it, but man, it's painful." When noticing the backlash she was receiving about her reportedly very unrelatable routine, she responded by saying, "This was a transparent look at a conversation between me and my doctors, not meant to be advice for anybody else." Even so, it won't stop the internet from calling her the ultimate almond mom. Number 9, we have the food stamp challenge. Though a lot of people saw Gwyneth's food stamp challenge as very valuable, others didn't necessarily see it that way. Back in 2016, the star took on a food stamp challenge which consisted of spending $29 for the whole week. Part of the trend where people limit their family budget to just $1.38 per meal in order to raise awareness about food stamp cuts. She tweeted at the time a photo of her haul with the caption, "This is what $29 gets you at the grocery store. What families on food stamps have been living on for a week. We're walking in their shoes to see how far we get." This photo really sparked some hate, with the Telegraph coming out with an article called "No Gwyneth, Busy Mothers Can't Live on Lettuce, Limes, and Beans," going on to say Paltrow's selection of green vegetables meant that she'd be consuming fewer than 1,000 calories a day, which is about half of what the NHS recommends for a healthy, balanced diet. With many confused by the amount of lime she picked out, a fan commented saying, "People who live on food stamps don't just get to have the nutrients, they have to actually get the calories as well, because they tend to have very physical lives, doing service labor or taking care of children, not necessarily being able to afford a car and so forth." Gwyneth ended up failing the challenge on day 4, proving the point of how difficult the budget really is. So in the end, I guess she got people talking, which was really the whole point anyways. Number 8, the ski incident. Now let's talk about the 2016 skiing accident. The trial that has just started this week has many wondering what the outcome is going to be. Terry Sanderson took Gwyneth to court after accusing her of crashing into him, resulting in some serious injuries while they were both skiing in Utah about 7 years ago. Terry says in his statement, "Gwyneth skied speed out of control, knocking me down hard, knocking me out, and causing a brain injury, 4 broken ribs, as well as other serious injuries. He goes on to claim that after the incident, the star and her ski instructor skied away from the scene without getting him any help. Gwyneth's lawyers came back with a counter-argument, which states she was enjoying skiing with her family on vacation in Utah when Terry, who was uphill, plowed into her back. She sustained a full-body blow. Paltrow was angry with Terry and said so. Terry then apologized. She was shaken and upset and ended up quitting skiing for the whole day, even though it was still the morning. Currently, Terry is seeking $300,000 in damages according to court documents, whereas Gwen is countersuing for just $1, as well as her attorney's fees. Looks like her family will take the stand as witnesses, and the whole thing will last about a week, so I guess only time will tell what really happened that day. Number 7. The Jade Egg. We all know Gwyneth has had some questionable wellness tips, but this one sparked up a specific type of controversy back in 2017. The star received a letter from Tina, Truth in Advising, which accused her company, Goop, of using deceptive health and disease treatment claims in order to sell her products. Allegedly, Goop didn't really do much about this letter, so Tina contacted the California Food, Drug, and Medical Device Task Force, which resulted in a lawsuit for the Jade Egg, the Rose Quartz Egg, and the Inner Judge Flower Essence Blend. She basically claimed that these products would completely change your life. The eggs, which are meant to be inserted down below, allegedly would increase vaginal muscle tone, hormonal balance, and feminine energy in general. When health experts saw these claims, many came forward, essentially saying that there is absolutely no truth to this whatsoever. One doctor shared on her blog saying, "This is the biggest load of garbage I have ever read on your site since vaginal steaming. It's even worse than claiming bras cause cancer. But hey, you aren't one to let facts get in the way of profiting from snake oil." In the end, Goop settled the lawsuit and made a deal to remove the claims that had no evidence. Number 6. The stickers. The star has angered a lot of people in the past, but one group of people that are fans of Gwyneth may surprise you. Looks like Goop managed to land in NASA's burn book. This happened back in 2017 when she came out with $120 stickers, which were supposed to rebalance energy frequencies in customers' bodies. Her company shared that these stickers were made from the same conductive carbon material NASA uses to line spacesuits so they can monitor the astronauts' vitals, saying that the sticker can target imbalances within. This very specific claim caught the attention of the former chief scientist for NASA. He told the press that these stickers were a load of BS, explaining that the spacesuits aren't made from carbon, and if they were, they wouldn't be able to monitor vital signs, saying the logic doesn't add up. The company saw this statement from the former NASA employee and quickly changed the description of the insanely expensive stickers. They wrote in a statement, "We apologize to NASA, our customers, and our fans for this communication error. We have learned that our engineer was misinformed by the distributor about the material in question, which was purchased for its unique specifications." Oddly enough, even after all this, Goop still promotes these stickers on their site. Number 5, we have the interview responses. The star has said some weird things in interviews in the past, so let me go through them for you and you can tell me what you think. In her 2001 interview, she said, "Beauty fades. I just turned 29, so I probably don't have many good years left in me." Or what she said when discussing why she doesn't get drunk, saying, "I think they're idiot people and I'm a normal person. My friends are adults, they have one drink, and they hold their liquor. I think it's incredibly embarrassing when people are drunk." She even went on Conan to say that she'd rather pass away than let her kids eat a cup of soup. The one quote that people believe shows her true colors is when she talks to the press about her haters and what she really thinks. She shares, "I am who I am, and I can't pretend I'm somebody who makes $25,000 a year." This definitely didn't sway many people's opinions about the star being a little bit of a snob in the end. Number 4, we have the racist tweet. It's been a bit of an ongoing joke about how much Gwyneth loves to talk about her friendship with Beyonce, and I can't say I blame her. But after posting a pretty out-of-touch tweet, she got some pretty insane backlash from her fans. According to the star, she and Beyonce first became friends at a charity event in the early 2000s, and they've been close ever since. The two have been seen at many events together and have even reportedly called each other perfect in the past. Gwyneth told The Sun that both their marriages work well together, saying they balance each other out. "Chris and I are like Jay and Beyonce, two paranoid ironists and two calm grounded people." The star sparked outrage after posting a photo of herself with the rapper The Dream and Be High, with the caption using the N-word. One fan commented, "Gwyneth might be getting a little too comfortable around her black friends." Perez Hilton commented as well, saying, "If you hate Gwyneth Paltrow now, you're gonna like her less." In response, the star tried to defend herself, tweeting, "Hold up, it's just the title of a song." But it seems like the damage has already been done, after another user wrote, "If you're not African American, then there's no instance for you to use this word. It doesn't matter if you're from friends with Jay-Z, Beyonce, Oprah, or President Obama, don't use the word. Number 3, we have the gift guide. Gwyneth's company has a newsletter full of her life advice, and every year they come out with the Goop Holiday Gift Guide, which many fans think is just ridiculous. The 2020 edition seemed to have some strange recommendations that many thought were just a little too expensive for absolutely no reason. One item was a 12-ounce travel mug priced at $180, which angered one news reporter who said, "It might be time to simply get over yourself and drink your coffee faster." Another option is the $125 storytelling robot, which many fans believe is just a way to not have to read to your kids at night. Along with these choices, there are a few lower priced options, but those were interesting as well, with one gift being a brass fire extinguisher. I mean, it definitely is a gift that no one else would be getting, but if you really want to have a unique gift, then maybe it's the way to go. She also added some extreme choices that would be such a show of wealth, with one gift being the Journey to the Nature's Edge exhibition adventure, priced at $1.3 million. This has left many believing that she's just a bit too far out of touch. Number 2, we have her parenting methods. Gwyneth definitely has a parenting style that has fans torn, with many believing this type of parenting goes hand in hand with just being wealthy. During an interview with the Daily Mail, she shared how her daughter was upset at her because she only lets her kids watch TV in French or Spanish. She explained in the interview, "When I'm in France, I go and buy all of their cartoons," which is just a pretty unrelatable thing for the average person. Along with her strict diet, it's hard to believe she doesn't cave into her kids every now and then. She's previously recommended keeping a bamboo matcha whisk in the kitchen for when you're making matcha tea. She has also allegedly put her kids on a low-carb, gluten-free diet, admitting that it leaves her with a specific type of hunger that comes when avoiding carbs. Though it does seem she has other great parenting methods that may have been noted, there's definitely a few that just not everyone can get behind. And finally, at number 1, we have Bastion America. Gwyneth has had some thoughts on America and Americans that she hasn't been afraid to share in the past. She shared in a Portuguese newspaper saying, "I love the English lifestyle. It's not as capitalistic as America. People don't talk about work or money, they talk about interesting things at dinner. I like living here because I don't fit into the bad side of American psychology. The British are much more intelligent and civilized than the Americans." After this statement, she received quite a bit of backlash from her fellow Americans, with many commenting that they don't need her. Not long after the star had to come out with a statement which she shared with People about how much she loves being American, saying, "First of all, I feel so lucky to be American. When you look at the rest of the world, we are so lucky. And that's something my dad has always instilled in me. I feel proud to be American." But many fans speculate that she could just be backtracking in order to preserve her reputation.
First up, Takashi 69 has just been savagely attacked by a group of men inside the bathroom of a gym, and the injuries were so bad that he had to be rushed to a hospital by ambulance. Shocking footage of the incident has been circulating across the internet. The video that was posted to Twitter shows 2 men towering over him as he lies on the bathroom floor, trying to protect his head from the blows. The men yell at him to shut the F up as one of them kicks his stomach and the other one punches his head. It's extremely brutal. Another one of his attackers can be heard saying, "Take a picture, I'm gonna be famous now." The person filming almost seems like he's in on it too, because at one point he tells 6ix9ine that he's a fan. After the men leave, the rapper then gets up off the floor and walks out of the restroom with a bloody face. His attorney told TMZ that he tried to fight off the attack, but there were just too many of them, and he didn't have security with him at the time. Judging from the video, it didn't seem like he had much of a chance anyway, given that there were 3 or 4 of them against one. Police and EMS were then called and 6ix9ine was taken to a hospital in an ambulance. So far, we don't know the extent of his injuries, but we do know that it was very serious. Apart from his head, he also suffered injuries to his jaw, ribs, and back. Although footage of the incident is very disturbing, it's brought about mixed reactions on Twitter. While some were condemning the attack, others seemed to be celebrating it. And yes, there is a reason for that. To most people, Takashi 69 is just a rapper who reminds them of a bag of Skittles. But he actually has a notorious history that's now put a massive target on his back. In 2019, he was sentenced to 2 years in prison for his role in the 9 Trey Gangsta Bloods gang. He was facing 47 years behind bars on racketeering and armed robbery charges, so he decided to take a plea deal that would lower his sentence. In exchange, he had to help the feds take down his former gang associates. During the trial, footage of him on the stand went viral because of how cordial and relaxed he was while describing everything. He laid out the inner workings of the gang, detailed their attacks, and explained their leadership ladder. He also named other members of the 9 Trey gang, including rappers Jim Jones and Cardi B. After 3 days of extensive testimony, the assistant US attorney said that he will forever have to look over his shoulder, and he was completely right. No matter how much time he was facing, accepting the deal turned out to be a very controversial decision. decision. 6ix9ine was immediately labeled as a snitch by other artists and became ostracized from the hip-hop community. In the following days, it seemed like the entire world was making fun of him. Several big-name rappers like Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent and Future blasted him on social media, calling him a rat. After that came all the snitching memes. When photos of him on the stand went viral, people started making parodies of his testimony by making it look like they were confessing to random things that had absolutely nothing to do with the case. In the end, being labeled as a snitch completely destroyed 6ix9ine's reputation and cost him a boatload of valuable relationships. There is now a laundry list of rappers and producers who straight up refuse to be affiliated with him. This is pretty shocking when you consider that he used to be one of the most successful rappers in the game. Over the years, 6ix9ine has released 2 studio albums and worked with people like Nicki Minaj, Kanye West and 50 Cent. In March last year, he opened up about his financial situation and revealed that he is now struggling to make ends meet. He said, "I have had to try to restart my career after my release from prison. I was out of the business for 2 years, which caused me to lose all the momentum I had achieved before I was arrested. I may never reach the levels of success I had before my arrest." Even worse for him, his accountant has now claimed that his net worth is technically less than zero. That's kind of insane when you think about the fact that he was once estimated to be worth roughly $8 million. Now, it's unclear if yesterday's attack had anything to do with what happened back in 2019, but it's a little concerning that he was just walking around without any security. After all, he's probably gotten about 1 million threats in the years since the trial. So, do you think the two things were related, or was it a random attack? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And now, guess who else is going to court? Gwyneth Paltrow. But as you could probably guess, it's not related. No, this trial is about a skiing accident that she was involved in. A 76-year-old man by the name of Terry Sanderson has accused her of crashing into him while they were both skiing on a mountain in Utah in 2016. The two of them were on a beginner's run at one of the most upscale ski resorts in the country. The incident caused Sanderson lasting injuries and literal brain damage. In the court documents, he claimed that Gwyneth skied out of control and knocked him down hard. He then got completely knocked out, suffered a brain injury and 4 broken ribs. Well, no wonder he took her to court. To make matters so much worse, Gwyneth wasn't actually alone at the time. She was with her ski instructor, and apparently they just both left him to suffer alone without getting him any medical attention. The retired optometrist had initially sued her for $3.1 million, but he later amended the complaint and is now seeking more than $300,000 in damages. For her part, Gwyneth filed a countersuit against him, claiming that he skied into her. According to her side of the story, she said that she was enjoying skiing with her family on vacation in Utah when he plowed into her from the back. She claimed that he was uphill, and when he ran into her, she sustained a full body blow. Apparently, she called him out for this and he apologized at the time. She said that the incident left her shaken and it made her quit skiing for the day, even though it was still the morning. She's now seeking $1 million in damages plus attorney's fees. So this is going to be a very tense legal battle. After more than 6 years, the two of them will finally reach a conclusion about what really happened on that day. Gwyneth's attorneys called Sanderson's story utter BS and accused him of suing her to exploit her wealth and celebrity status. They argued that his injuries might have even been the byproducts of aging, given that he was around 70 years old at the time. Meanwhile, his attorneys have attempted to paint her as a negligent celebrity, with little care for the injuries inflicted upon a regular person. So whose side are you on? Because as you can probably guess, most people think that Gwyneth is in the wrong. They've even been making fun of her courtroom appearance and comparing her to Jeffrey Dahmer. Yes, the guy who literally ate a bunch of people. Pictures were taken of her in court yesterday, and for some reason her large aviator-style sunglasses became the center of attention. It wasn't long before people made the comparison to the ones that were famously worn by Jeffrey Dahmer. As you know, he was responsible for taking the lives of 17 young men between 1978 and 1991. He also dismembered and ate some of their body parts, so the fact that anyone is comparing him to Gwyneth Paltrow is literally insane. But you do have to admit the resemblance is uncanny. People commented things like, "So that's where her bone broth comes from," and "Guess she's going for the Dahmer look." In fact, more than anything else, it seemed like fans were making jokes about the trial. Someone wrote, "As an optometrist, he should have seen her coming. I fear it may be on him." But there were also some who came to her defense and argued that Sanderson was just after her money because he was retired and no longer working. Several videos of Gwyneth sitting in court have also been circulating on Twitter. What's really interesting is her over-the-top facial expressions while she's sitting next to her attorneys. Despite Despite the fact that the jury is watching her every single move, she is really struggling to hide her feelings. Judging from the videos, she seems to be both disinterested and incredibly smug at the same time. She was also seen using a blue notebook to shield her face from view when she was entering and exiting the courtroom. On the opening day of the trial, Gwyneth and Sanderson were sitting across the courtroom from each other. The judge offered instructions to the 8-person jury while the attorneys for each side introduced themselves before making opening statements. The trial is expected to last about 1 week. Although we don't have an official witness list, we do know that a lot of them are expected to testify tomorrow. Gwyneth will most likely take the stand, and we will also be hearing from family members who were with her at the time of the incident. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this whole thing pans out over the next couple of days. Let me know in the comments below who you think is going to be found guilty. And now Chaeyoung from Twice has come under fire for wearing an extremely controversial shirt. The 23-year-old member of the K-pop group Twice issued an apology yesterday after she uploaded a photo of her wearing a t-shirt with a racist hate symbol. I won't be going into specifics here, but it was one that appeared on the infamous German flag. She was seen performing in a QAnon shirt for the South Korean series Show Music Core. The shirt had a 70s picture of Sid Vicious wearing a t-shirt with the tilted symbol on it. When photos of the event started making their way across the internet, the singer came out issuing an apology. She said, "Hello, this is Chaeyoung from Twice. I sincerely apologize regarding the Instagram post. I didn't correctly recognize the meaning of the tilted symbol in the t-shirt I wore. I deeply apologize for not thoroughly reviewing it, causing concern. I will pay absolute attention in the future to prevent any similar situation from happening again. Sincerely apologize." Many of her 8.6 million followers responded to her apology by leaving comments on the post like, "Don't worry, we believe you," and "I forgive you." But what's really crazy about this story is that it's not even the first time it's happened. Online spectators were quick to point out that Chaeyoung also performed wearing a t-shirt with the QAnon slogan, "Where we go one, we go all." This directly refers to the far-right political movement that sprouted in 2017. It's known for spreading graphic conspiracy theories in defense of Donald Trump. Since the controversy erupted, fans of the girl group have come to her defense, claiming that she most likely did not know the meaning of the emblems when she wore them. They suggested that people should instead be pointing their fingers at her stylist for not recognizing the history that is attached to the clothing. But it seems like there might be some kind of pattern emerging here. This latest incident is far from the first time an alt-right logo was displayed in the K-pop world. In 2018, managers for the world's biggest group BTS had to apologize after one of their members was pictured in a hat in a style that was originally worn by SS officers. And yes, it was that same tilted symbol. Another member of the group was pictured wearing a t-shirt celebrating the Korean liberation from Japanese rule in 1945, and the graphics included a picture of an atomic mushroom cloud. Then in 2021, So-won, who was a member of the girl group G-Friend, had to apologize after she was photographed hugging and caressing a controversial mannequin. Then last year, a member of the girl group Purple Kiss was pictured wearing the tilted symbol in a military-themed photo shoot. Her label then made things worse when they issued a non-apology, stating that the responsibility of the incident was not on the artist. So there was obviously something very tone-deaf about the whole thing. But scandals like this open up a wider conversation around hip-hop's responsibility to their international fans, especially as their popularity increases. Sometimes it really does feel like an innocent mistake, and if anything, it just highlights a lack of knowledge about serious topics among certain demographics in South Korea. But the timing of this controversy could not have come at a worse time for Twice, because the group has become insanely popular in English markets. The 9-member girl group have enjoyed crossover success outside of South Korea since their debut in 2015, with 4 of their albums reaching the US top 10. They recently launched the top of the Billboard 200 with the release of their 12th mini-album Ready to Be. The 7-long set includes their second English-language single Moonlight Sunrise, which peaked at number 84 on the top 100. They were also honored with the Breakthrough Award at Billboard's Women in Music event on March the 1st, which makes it pretty clear that their global reach has become even bigger. So with more power definitely comes more responsibility.
This time, she has made headlines for a comment she made towards Hailey Bieber in regards to her father that seemed to make everyone involved pretty uncomfortable. So let's go over that, and then maybe we'll recap some other Paltrow controversies and talk about Goop because I just can't get over it. Hailey Bieber hosts a vlog called Who's in My Bathroom, where she interviews different people on a bathroom set, and this time she had Gwyneth Paltrow appearing on her show. At the start of the video, everything seems pretty normal, Bieber introducing Paltrow as she walks on and goes to sit down. But as soon as the two start talking, it starts to get a little weird and uncomfortable. Gwyneth Paltrow says, "I think I know your dad and your uncles," referencing referencing her father Stephen Baldwin and uncle Alec Baldwin. Haley responds understandingly, saying, "That's what most people say to me," and asking if Gwyneth has any stories about them. Unfortunately for Haley, she probably never should have asked that and just left it there. Because Gwyneth goes on to bring up the time that she starred with Stephen in a movie called Mrs. Parker and the Vicious Circle way back in 1994. She says that he was actually a pleasure to work with and he was really nice. Haley responds with relief and says, "I like hearing that. Imagine if you had some horror story. He was terrible. It was a nightmare working with him." Bieber is joking about the situation and Gwyneth then tries to throw another joke into the mix, but it really doesn't land. She says, "That would be bad, or if I like your dad in the bathroom." Haley seems to get uncomfortable and starts telling Gwyneth that she actually has had that happen. People telling her that they've had sex with her father and she's pretty sure that he doesn't know that she knows. Gwyneth laughs along and quickly tries to clear up the situation, waving her hands and saying, I didn't. And Haley leans forward saying, "Oh well, that's good to know." The video then continues on and nothing else overly important really seems to happen, the video garnering over 150,000 views in just one day. People in the comments seem to have mixed opinions on Gwyneth, with some people saying that she is hilarious and well-intentioned, and others plainly stating that they just don't really like her. Now let me talk about Goop, which is slightly off topic, but I just can't talk about Gwyneth Paltrow without mentioning this, and if you're somebody who doesn't know about what Goop is, I am like obligated to educate you. Gwyneth launched the Goop brand back in 2008, starting as just a newsletter which grew into a website, fashion line, product line, podcast, health summit, and more. They have sold many controversial products on their website. The most talked about including a Jade Egg that would apparently regulate your menstrual cycle and raise your libido, and a candle that was genitally scented. The Jade Egg actually ended up with Goop having to pay around $150,000 in penalties for making medically unsubstantiated claims, a common trend on the website and in advertising of their products. They still sell the egg and a sticker that is said to fix body imbalances because it's made of NASA spacesuit material, but NASA themselves said that this simply wasn't true. After a wellness summit in 2019, many were left disappointed and were quoted as saying Gwyneth was a greedy extortionist. An attendee said, "She had a ton of security, she was unapproachable, she did the minimum, a few fireside chats with Twiggy and Penelope Cruz, then she put on her Birkenstocks and snuck out." Despite all their controversy, Goop is still running, and when I went to their website, they even advertised their 69 new arrivals. And yes, I did chuckle, I am only human. And we're gonna wrap it up there.
First up, if you saw the video of Emily Ratajkowski making out with Harry Styles, you might be wondering if they're going to start dating. But that might not be the case, judging from her latest online Q&A session that she did with fans. Emily hinted that she doesn't see a long-term future with Harry and opened up about her post-divorce dating life, which apparently hasn't been going all that well. She said that she recently dated a man who couldn't be bothered finishing her book of essays, My Body, which was almost like her own personal memoir. She said, "I dated a guy for a minute, whose name will not be disclosed, who never made it through my own damn book. He got halfway and he was like, it's really good. He kept saying he was a slow reader, but I was also like, okay, are you just not that interested in me?" Emily said that a lot of the time when guys ask her for book recommendations, it's just an empty gesture because they don't actually read anything that she suggests. She also thinks that men are less sophisticated than women when it comes to thinking about relationships. She said, "Men think with their D, and they're just not that advanced." This is what causes her to really question the men that she dates as a single mom, because a lot of them will try to slip into that father role just so that they can sleep with her. Quote, "Like a woman would be like, I don't even know if I can go on a first date with this guy. He has 2 kids. Guys are just not there. So they'll be in love with you and they'll be like, oh crap, she has 2 kids. Yes, I'm a stepdad." Some people thought that Emily was talking about Harry Styles here and insinuating that he's the kind of guy who would rush into this relationship without really thinking about what it means to date a single mom. But that might be a little bit of a reach because it seems like Emily was generalizing and isn't really talking about one guy in particular. She does make a good point though in saying that a lot of men don't actually consider the responsibilities of being a step-parent before they decide to start dating someone with kids. Later on in the session, someone asked her if it's okay to raise a baby without the father, and she had a very interesting response. It turns out Emily plans on having a second child even if she has to go it alone. She said, "I think that having a father is important, but I also just want to say I know quite a few women who've done it on their own, and they've done incredible jobs, and they are fantastic mothers, and they have wonderful kids. And I personally have really liked parenting on my own, so I personally wouldn't be afraid of getting pregnant and giving birth as a single woman. Emily is seriously considering freezing her eggs or doing IVF in her late 30s. Although that's what she's decided to do, she still doesn't necessarily recommend the same choice for every single woman. She acknowledges that you don't get time off from your mom duties, and it can be a lot of work. This particular Q&A session was really eye-opening because it goes to show you that Emily has a super independent mindset after her divorce, and she doesn't really seem to be too bothered about looking for a potential stepdad in her romantic partners. But that's not to say that she's stopped looking for love. Since the video went viral of her and Harry kissing, the reaction from fans has been overwhelmingly positive. It's still too early to tell, but it seems like most people like the idea of them together. Although there was speculation going around that the whole thing was a PR stunt. Of course, some people would jump to that conclusion because the moment was caught on camera, and it seemed like the two of them didn't care that they were being filmed. They were also said to be dancing together in the rain and sharing one single umbrella, so it was almost too perfect. But you do have to wonder, why on earth would they need any more publicity? As far as we know, they don't have any upcoming projects together, so that doesn't really make any sense. And more importantly, why would Harry want to be seen as such a bad kisser? If the whole thing was staged, you would think it would look a little better. If you can bring yourself to watch the video again, it seems like Emily is trying to bring the technique, but he's intent on doing his own thing. In fact, even some of his fans were straight up grossed out by the kiss. One person tweeted, "Seeing how Harry Styles kisses has given me such an irreversible ick with him. Like, I think this is it. I think I'm finally free." Another person wrote, "I'm going to pretend that video of Harry and M. Rider doesn't exist, not because I care about their relationship, but because I refuse to believe Harry Styles kisses like that." To be completely fair, we can't be judging his kissing capabilities from a 10-second clip, no matter how close the camera was. And even though they chose to hook up in public, there's something about the video that feels like a massive invasion of privacy. You can only watch it once before you start to feel a little weird about it. The good news is that Harry has a lot more time to date at the moment, because he now has 6 weeks off before he starts touring through Europe in May. So it's a very convenient time for him to get a new love interest if that's what he wants to do. And now, if you've been rooting for Gwyneth Paltrow in a ski crash trial, I have some good news. Last week, her lawyers claimed that Terry Sanderson had captured a video of the collision on his GoPro, but then he decided to delete it because it would prove that he was the one who ran into Gwyneth. The evidence that remained of this was a link that he sent to his daughter, which could not be opened. Gwyneth's attorney said his team had attempted to open the link, but it was purposely faulty. But just when all hope seemed to be lost, Michael Fletcher, a tech investigator who happened to be keeping up with the trial, decided to try and open it. In the end, he was surprised at how easy it was. He solved the mystery in just 2 minutes and told Court TV that the only thing he had to do was create an account on the website and log in. Michael said, "They just didn't know how to open the link. Honestly, it's comical how easy it was. I can't believe they didn't do this already. It's almost a joke. It was just common sense." While the link didn't lead him to the GoPro video, what he discovered was still very interesting. It was a hidden group chat including Terry Sanderson and his only witness to the incident, Craig Ramon. In one of the messages, he says, "You cannot make this up. Gwyneth took out Terry last week. Last Saturday, her son broke his arm skiing at Park City. Gwyneth was staying at the Montage. She took her plane out of Million Airport. What makes me mad is that Gwyneth took out Terry and just took off." This directly contradicts his testimony that he was not immediately aware that it was Gwyneth Paltrow who was involved in the crash. So he obviously knew who she was right away and knew that she was a massive celebrity. Of course, these messages were sent to her attorneys, and now the judge has ruled that they are admissible in the trial. So this is a huge setback for Sanderson, now that his only eyewitness has been discredited. At the moment, we are in the second week of the trial, and it's really dragging on. Even Gwyneth's children are involved. Yesterday, the jury heard testimonies from 18-year-old Apple and 16-year-old Moses, who were aged 11 and 9 at the time of the incident. They were happy to testify in person, but because of scheduling conflicts, the lawyers read their depositions out loud. Moses said he briefly saw the collision while he was skiing with an instructor. He and his instructor noticed the crash and skied over to where it happened, which was when he realized that his mum was involved. He heard her yelling at the guy who allegedly crashed into her from behind. Sanderson's legal team tried to claim that Gwyneth was distracted by her son calling to her, but Moses denied that this was the case. As for Apple, she didn't witness the crash personally, but she did hear some of the commotion from further down the hill. When she met up with her mother a little bit later, she recalled her looking shocked. Quote, "I asked what had happened, and she said, 'This a-hole ran into me. He ran right into my back.'" So her statement pretty much backs up everything that her mom has said about the accident. Now, the trial is not over yet, but so far it looks like Gwyneth has well and truly proven her case. And now, did you know that Prince Harry is going to war against the Daily Mail? And he's not the only one. Both Harry and Elton John were in court on Monday as a part of an explosive new lawsuit that they brought against the publisher of the Daily Mail called Associated Newspapers. They claim that in an effort to dig up dirt on celebrities, the newspaper is responsible for abhorrent criminal activity and gross breaches of privacy. This allegedly includes the placing of listening devices in their homes and on their cars, bugging their phone calls, and paying police for information. But the celebrities involved in this lawsuit are not backing down without a fight. About half a dozen high-profile figures have now joined together to take legal action. This includes actress Sadie Frost and Elizabeth Hurley, filmmaker David Furnish, and Baroness Doreen Lawrence. The 4-day preliminary hearing in London will end with the judge deciding whether or not the case will go any further. David Sherborne, the lawyer for the group of celebrities, released a statement about the case. He said, "The claimants each claim that in different ways they were the victim of numerous unlawful acts carried out by the defendant or by those acting on the instructions of the newspapers, the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday." He said the alleged unlawful activity included illegally intercepting voicemail messages, listening into live landline calls, obtaining private information like itemized phone bills or medical records by deception or blagging. He said that these incidents ranged through a period from 1993 to 2011, and some of them even continuing until 2018. The High Court has now heard from Harry about how these incidents affected his mental health and his personal relationships. He claims that this massive invasion of privacy deprived him of important aspects of his teenage years. He knew the Daily Mail had unlawful ways of gathering information, and he actually believed they were using the people closest to him to do it. He then became suspicious of everyone around him, and so paranoid that he had to cut off certain friends. At one point, he viewed his peers as potential suspects who were willing to sell him out to the newspaper. So how did he find out about all of this? Well, apparently several private investigators that were working for the newspaper actually admitted to these illegal practices. It turns out the targets were Harry, his friends, and any potential romantic partner in his life. As a part of his testimony, he brought up his former girlfriend Chelsea Davy and the media's relentless coverage of them. The information that kept getting leaked about the couple created a terrifying situation. Harry said, "Their behavior and treatment of Chelsea was not normal. I was scared that Chelsea was going to run in the opposite direction or be chased and harassed to death." He said he went to extreme lengths to protect their privacy, but it was impossible. These continued invasions into his personal life eventually put a strain on all of his relationships. For their part, Associated Papers rebutted the allegations and said that Harry's claims appeared to be based on a confession by a private investigator, but they say that that investigator now denies that they paid him to do anything illegal. During his testimony, Harry also accused the royal family of withholding information from him for a long time about phone hacking. In a written statement, he said, "The institution made it clear that we did not need to know anything about phone hacking, and it was made clear to me that the royal family did not sit in the witness box because that could open up a can of worms." He went on to explain how he found out that other people within the royal family had brought phone hacking claims against the press. Quote, "It was not an exaggeration to say that the bubble burst in terms of what I knew in 2020. When I moved out of the United Kingdom, there was never any centralized discussion between us about who had brought claims, as each office in the institution is siloed. There is this misconception that we are all in constant communication with one another, but that is not true." So basically, he found out that the institution had intentionally left him in the dark, even though they knew his privacy was being seriously invaded. This is a pretty big accusation to level against the royal family, but by now, after everything else that Harry has accused them of, it's not really that surprising. His hatred of the British tabloids is also no secret. We know that he blames the press for the death of his mother, Princess Diana. His wife, Meghan Markle, has also had her own battles with the press. In 2018, she sued Associated Newspapers Limited over 5 articles that they published, which included parts of the letter that she sent to her father, Thomas Markle. It took 3 whole years, but she eventually won her case. When Judge Mark Warby ruled in her favor, he decided that Meghan had a reasonable expectation that the contents of the letter would remain private, and that the articles had interfered with that reasonable expectation. In a statement of her own, Meghan called for a reshaping of the tabloid newspaper industry, and said that she had been patient in the face of deception, intimidation, and calculated attacks. So it's no wonder that Harry is also choosing to stand up to the British press with his latest legal battle against Associated Newspapers. If you are looking for another reason to roll your eyes at Gwyneth Paltrow, just look at what's going viral on TikTok. In a recent interview with Dr. Will Cole for the podcast The Art of Being Well, she talked about her daily wellness routine, and just like that, she turned herself into a punchline once again. Gwyneth explains that she does intermittent fasting for 18 hours a day, only has a coffee in the morning, and then breaks her fast with nothing but bone broth. So basically nothing but fluids. She then exercises for an hour doing Pilates or a Tracy Anderson workout. Gwyneth finishes up her day by dry brushing, going in her infrared sauna for 30 minutes, and then having a paleo dinner with lots of vegetables. She does all of this because she says it's important to support her detox. But everyone's asking the same question now. What does she have to detox if she doesn't actually eat anything? Look, it's not like people are going to take advice from someone who sells a $75 candle that smells like her you-know-what. But at this point, she doesn't even deserve to have a platform if she's just going to promote disordered eating. And thankfully, she's now being called out for it on TikTok. One of the most famous dietitians on the platform, Abby Sharp, made a response video criticizing her and her wellness routine. She said, "I did not think Gwyneth could get any more dangerous to the public," but then she posted this. Abby explained that her fasting window was far too long and her caloric intake is far too little to support her day-to-day activity. She went on to say, "For the love of all that is holy, you do not need to detox. Your body does this naturally every day. This woman is going to die on the detox hill because she basically created this hysteria and is profiting off of it every effing day." A lot of people agreed with her and they wrote things in the comments like, "This literally sounds like colonoscopy prep," and "Bone broth is not a meal." In fact, everyone is so sick of Gwyneth's wellness crap that they have now labeled her as the mother of all the almond moms, which is a term for women who push disordered eating onto their children. There were also heaps of comments making fun of her diet. Someone wrote, "I eat one almond but I cut it into 30 segments and I eat it throughout my day to keep me nourished." But all jokes aside, it is really worrying knowing that there might be some impressionable people who are actually falling for it, because there really are those that idolize this sort of eating and think it's what you should be doing if you want to be healthy. So we should be doing everything we can to stop her trying to normalize this kind of thing. But just when you think Gwyneth couldn't get any more insufferable, she reveals that she's been hooked up to an IV during the entire interview. The doctor pointed out the IV in her arm and she just laughed and said, "I love an IV. I'm an early IV adopter." Apparently she likes to get nutrients from her IV because she says it makes her feel so good. That sounds funny, but that's what she actually said. It just makes you wonder why she needs to do all these extra things to try and feel good. It was this part of the podcast more than anything that made her seem so out of touch. The comments under this clip were really savage. Someone wrote, "She's too rich to swallow vitamins whole," and "This is perfect material for an SNL skit." Another user wrote, "She looks physically sick, so how much are these IVs really helping?" Most people remember that Gwyneth has been called out for this kind of thing before. Her wellness company Goop has raised eyebrows in the past by promoting questionable items, things like sprays and crystals that are meant to prevent mental manipulation by people. Not to mention that some of the things she sells are thousands of dollars, but she claims that they are a necessity. If you're wondering how she became so out of touch with regular people, the answer is that she never really was. Gwyneth Paltrow is the OG Nepo baby, and she doesn't really bother hiding it. In 2009, she was quoted saying, "I am who I am. I can't pretend to be somebody who makes $25,000 a year." And yes, that is something she actually said. So honestly, is anyone even surprised about what she said in this latest interview?